Hey, welcome back to Bob Thoughts. And today I have a few. This actually started with a nice conversation between me and an awesome friend. And he's actually the producer of the Epic Narrative podcast. If you don't know, that's the name of my podcast. And he's awesome. So those of you who listen, you know who I'm talking about. But he was kind of giving me a summation of a devotional he had done recently for a group of guys, and I was it just sparked some thoughts. And the context of the devotional isn't necessarily what I wanted to go into, but the phrase he used at the end, kind of his driving home point, was, is it more likely that you're batting 1,000 or that God's just that faithful? And I was like, wow, that's really good. That's a good reminder. And for me, it was more, God's goodness is just so good. Sometimes you get confused. Sometimes you really think that he must be okay with everything that you're doing. And you start not checking in with him, or you don't run your decision making through the filter of the kingdom. You don't run it through love and joy and peace and hope and goodness and meekness, and you create environments around you that are actually not healthy and not God's kingdom. But because he's so faithful, you start to think, well, this must be good. Like the way that I'm treating these people he must be okay with. And I, as often as you know, you often, if you follow me, I often apply this immediately to church, because I love the church and I've been involved in church, although not currently because I'm jobless, and technically I'm not homeless because I do drag our home behind our truck, but I apply it to church because I think it's something that churches get trapped into really easily, especially with two areas. If there's a good attendance, and usually that coincides with a good offering, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's a family or a group, or sometimes even an individual that underwrites pretty much anything the leadership wants to do, whether it's an individual or an elders group or whatever. That we've talked about hierarchies before. I don't want to go down into those thoughts again. You can listen to my thoughts on those other things. It's very easy for, let's say, an endowed church to have they have an idea and they discuss it, and then it's like, well, yeah, let's just do that. Or maybe there isn't any discussion because the decision makers don't need to get, anybody to get on board. They just know, hey, the money's there, or the volunteers are there, or the people are there, so let's go with this plan. And they just kind of stop running it by the kingdom principles. And it was just a really good reminder that God is that faithful, right? God is that good all the time. And we need to not be confused by that. But I'm in my head, right? More thoughts about just church history. How many churches, how many ministries, and I'm going way back in U.S. history, revivals. You maybe you don't, but I've read about so many revivalists, preaching to thousands and thousands of people, seeing so many people come to Jesus, and then you read about like what the decisions they start to make, and it's like, wait, what? Why would they go down that road? Like, why did they become that way? Like, how in the world did they end so badly? And at some level, there's, I think, a thread of this, that there was so much goodness and so much blessing from a God who's always good and always blessing, that even when they started to do things out of, we'll call it the flesh, even when they started to do things just out of business principles, good, worldly ideas, the goodness of God just keeps on flowing. And they just thought, everything's going to be great. Everything's going great. And sometimes they even had got to the point of thinking, well, everything will be great for me anyways. Like, I don't know what it'll be after after I'm done, after I retire, after I die, but everything's going great for me. And even now, I think a lot of preachers, not a lot, I don't know, actually, that's a broad brush judgment I probably don't need to make. I do know that there are preachers who do think that way. They think, well, I finally landed the job that I worked. I paid my dues. I worked as the youth pastor. I worked for years, and then I moved here and moved there, and then we got an associate pastorate, and then I got the family life pastorate, and now I'm the senior pastor and of a nice thriving church, and I can just sit here and do my thing, and everything will be good, at least for me. It's God's goodness is just that good all the time. And it's easy to get confused. So be alert, pay attention, run your decisions through the kingdom, and let's just remember how good God is all through time.